On December 8, 1980, 40-year-old former Beatle John Lennon is murdered by a deranged 25-year-old fan named Mark David Chapman outside Lennon's apartment in New York City. Chapman begins waiting outside the Dakota apartment building early in the morning that day and greets the Lennon family nanny who is returning from a walk with Lennon's son Sean. Chapman says that he is a beautiful boy, quoting the lyrics of Lennon's song about Sean. Chapman is still outside the Dakota around 6 p.m. when Lennon exits with his wife, Yoko Ono. Chapman has recently purchased a copy of Lennon's newest album, Double Fantasy. Lennon greets some of the fans on the street and actually signs Chapman's copy of the album. There's even an eerie amateur photograph taken of Lennon and Chapman during the signing. After Lennon leaves, rather oddly, Chapman tosses the signed album into a planter box near the apartment building and waits. Lennon and Ono return home just before 11 p.m. Their plan is to say goodnight to little Sean and then go out to a restaurant. They step out of their limousine and, in the archway leading into the building, Chapman strikes. He fires 5 times, hitting Lennon 4 times in the back. The doorman shakes the revolver out of Chapman's hand and kicks it out of reach. Chapman then sits down and starts thumbing through a copy of J.D. Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye until police arrive and arrest him. Lennon is rushed to the hospital and dies soon after arriving. When news gets out, mourners gather outside the Dakota. Lennon's remains are cremated and scattered in Central Park. Chapman pleads guilty to the murder and is sentenced to 20 years to life. He comes up for parole multiple times over the years and is repeatedly denied. John Lennon continues to be an icon more than 40 years after his untimely death. His music and activism continue to influence the world. Here are other events that happened today in history. In 1775, American forces led by Benedict Arnold begin a siege of Quebec that fails on New Year's Eve. In 1940, the Chicago Bears crushed the Washington Redskins 73-0 in the NFL championship game. In 1941, FDR gives his Day of Infamy speech before Congress, and the U.S. declares war on Japan. In 1949, Chiang Kai-shek and the Chinese nationalists flee to the island of Taiwan. In 1993, Bill Clinton signs NAFTA, creating a free trade zone between Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. In 2007, Florida quarterback Tim Tebow becomes the first underclassman to win the Heisman. In 2010, SpaceX becomes the first private company to launch, orbit, and recover a spacecraft. And now, it's time for our Today in History quiz. Which deadly infectious disease was declared eradicated from the earth in 1979? Anthrax, bubonic plague, smallpox, or polio? Think you know the answer? Drop your guesses in the comments below. Find out if you're right tomorrow on Today in History.